Welcome to Hahnemühle's Life Science session, live for you from Düsseldorf in the Install Studios, just a stone throw away from Hahnemühle, the factory itself. So yeah, the virtual open house 2022 is happening here for you right now, right here. As we all know, Hahnemühle is famous for a variety of different kinds of paper. For example, such as traditional and digital artist papers, stationery and merchandising, and also life science. Now you might be wondering, life science, there's a whole wide you're going to get to know about, whole wide range you're going to get to know about it. We're going to take a closer look at what life science is and means at Hahnemühle, also what it means for you and me out there. My name is Dany Michalsky. Next to me by my side, I have Dr. Rosenbauer to help us understand life science by Hahnemühle. Good to have you with us.
Yes, I'm welcome. Yes, I welcome you. Hello. So I'm Horst Rosenbauer. I'm in charge of the product management of the life science products at the Hahnemühle. And we serve a large application field and a lot of interesting markets with our products. And that's the reason why I like this job. The life science portfolio contains the filter papers. That's what we focus on today, and even some membrane products. And I am very pleased to give you a brief insight into our product portfolio.
The wide range. I mean, you have all kinds of products and articles right here in front of us. It's a huge topic. Yet again, we would need days probably, but we're going to give you about a 30-minute input look into the life science products by Hahnemühle, because Hahnemühle fine art is usually what you hear about. This has nothing to do with art. It has to do with life science. So what do we see here? What do we start with, dear Horst?
We start with paper, just paper.
We start with paper, but we're using it for what this time around?
Yes, so we just supply paper for the life science market. And I guess everybody knows paper, everybody is using any kind of paper, but we clearly focus to life science applications, and these applications are very, very challenging. So we supply the right material for chemical analytics and clinical diagnostics. So it's definitely not easy to make a paper with certain characteristics and features. But I can say, yes, we can do.
Yes, we can. That's good.
And what we also like to say is that we support people to live in a healthy environment and to check their own health.
Very good. So
that sounds ambitious.
No.
I see it in your face. It sounds ambitious, but it's really a challenging thing. And maybe after our talk, you will realize what the meaning is behind this word.
Well, you know, since I'm just a tad bit prepared, a little birdie has already told me a few things about the products and the topics that will happen now. So. We know Hahnemühle Fine Art has been active for such a long time, but tell us more about life science and how did it come about, and how about the development of life science? When did it all start?
Yes, the Hahnemühle started very, very early, 1584, but
400 years, yeah.
it took a long time, and driven by the, as you can see in the graphics, driven by the Industrial Revolution, the development of certain papers for chemical analysis, for quantitative and qualitative analysis. The Hahnemühle started to produce papers for doing that, and they did it very well. And some decades later, the Schleicher and Schüll group has been founded, and the Hahnemühle was taken over in this group, but they continued to produce the filter papers, and all the filter papers were then sold and marketed by the Schleicher and Schüll group. And they did it very good, very well. All the papers were very well known and accepted globally. And a few years later, the company Wottmann took over some parts of the Schleicher and Schüll group. By that, the Hahnemühle became independent again and continued to sell all the filter papers under their own brand, which was done by Schleicher and Schüll in the past. So all the papers were sold with the Schleicher and Schüll brand, but after that takeover by Wottmann, Hahnemühle became independent and started the Hahnemühle filter papers, and we did all the converting by ourselves and sell it now directly to the market.
So 3 steps. The Schleicher and Schüll was what year about was that when that started? That they sold, that Hahnemühle sold via.
It was 2008, as Hahnemühle became independent again.
Okay, then that's when you became independent and started producing under Hahnemühle name for yourselves.
Yeah. But the most important thing is that, in example, as shown in the slide, the grade 595 is one of the most important papers we produce. The grades were always the same, independent from who sold it to the market, whether it was Schleicher and Schüll or Hahnemühle. The production of the grades were continuously the same, so all the features were the same over centuries.
And that's kind of already like introducing my next question, and I'm kind of like answering it mentally to myself. Let's see if I'm correct. Because the question is why. Because there's so many paper manufacturers around the globe, but I know there's one thing very unique about Hahnemühle Fine Arts. What is it exactly that is so special and unique?
Yes, that's true. There are some filter paper makers on the world, but there's only a small group of paper makers which can really create a high quality. And in this small pool of manufacturers, the Hahnemühle is located, and all the companies differ in various features. And we see us at the top of this small pool of manufacturers, and except one thing, and this is the company size. So we are not a 3 billion euro company, and we are a mid-sized company, but we have very qualified people, and we have flexible paper machines, and again and again, I wonder that all the machines can create so many different papers. And that's the reason why I call them magic machines.
Magic machines, that's good.
And we have some very brilliant paper makers, and all the people converting the material are very skillful. So I'm very happy to have this team in the background that we can offer these high value products. And in addition, to have a smaller company, we also have short ways of information. So the communication from one department to the other is very short.
Direct.
Decision making is easier and quicker, so we communicate mostly in person. In example, salespeople have to communicate with the people in the production planning, in example, when they have a certain customer need, to fulfill the customer need in just-in-time delivery and all these things which concerns the customer service. So that works very fine.
So you know what I kind of was saying? I thought I knew the answer to what were you going to say. I figured, like, why are you set apart? Why are you more premium or better than other manufacturers? I figured since that factory is sitting on their own well, their own source of clear water, being a nature reserve, that's so unique. I mean, not any other companies really can offer that. So I think that's also what sets Hahnemühle aside and puts you above everybody else, practically. So that's what I was thinking. I just wanted to share my thoughts with you. But yeah, thank you so much for that information. So now we're going to talk about all the product range of life science, because we see so many. Yeah, you mentioned analytics, medical, filtration. Tell me more about that. How do you use what? And yeah, in which sectors do you use them?
Yes, so our products are used everywhere where critical questions has to be answered from chemical point of view, of course, and where reliable results are needed. And we have a very, very strict quality control. And not even the products, the final products, even the incoming goods, the raw materials are very strictly checked in matter of their performance and quality and pureness. And in addition, we have, when we produce our papers, we have a very narrow band of specifications. So minimum and maximum of certain features are just in a very narrow band.
Yeah.
And so the release control is also a very strict one, because that's our demand on ourselves. We don't want to serve mass markets. We want to serve smaller markets, niche markets, very specific markets, but with a high and reliable quality. And in addition, there's something else. So again and again, some companies think about a new market and a new product idea, and they are looking for a new paper for that, filter paper. And then they contact us and ask us whether they can have a certain paper with a specific behavior. And then we check our portfolio, and if we do not find something, we can modify even papers which are existing, or we just start developing a new one. So we change the recipe, we change the raw materials. Last year we created new papers made of hemp. Usually we use cellulose, which we get from cheese, but even hemp is also very specific to give the paper a specific behavior. And because of our size, we are able to produce a small volume of this newly developed product. And this helps the company to just invest only a low volume to get this product for validating the new market. And when they get the feedback and say, yes, that's fine, we can even produce more. So our production volume is nearly open-ended.
And because your standard of paper is so high, you deliver always the same product, the same quality, the same purity. And specifically regarding filtration, that is also very important, right? What about the filtration processes or the papers that you use for filtration?
So the filtration process, so yes, the application area we are serving is a very huge one. And nearly day by day, we have to learn, when the companies and customers contact us, we will learn, oh, that's an application for filter paper. We didn't know that before. So
you learn and you adjust.
Yes, and the thing is that filter papers are not only used for filtration, but even for absorption. This is something we will talk about a bit later. But the application area is very huge, so I really can't list them all. It's just the chemical analytics, it's biological research, it is the production, so clarification of beverages, even the quality control of beverages. It is the isolation of blood components for therapeutical use. It is quality control for pharmaceuticals, and it's C-testing, we will see that. So it's really all these applications are very diverse, but the basis is to get success in these filtration processes is a very high quality paper. And there are two areas. One is the analytics and the other one is the production. And in the analytics, the people have to use or have to consider certain norms. So if someone wants to check a product which is on the market and they have to check the quality, they have certain norms, and in this norm is concretely written which equipment and which filter paper is to be used for this test. But don't worry, nearly for all the relevant norms we can supply the right filter paper for doing a good job. And the other group are the manufacturers, like filtration of beverages, and they have also to consider the purity of the filter paper.
Right.
So when they start doing a thing, producing a beverage or something which will be consumed, they have to take care that their filter paper is a very pure one. And there's the FDA, Food and Drug Administration in USA. They give certain norms, and even the German Bundesinstitut für Risikomanagement, so the Federal Institute for Risk Assessment, they also give some regulations, and you have to, as a user, as a who wants to filter has to consider that.
Right.
And for nearly all of the process filters, we can supply the right certificate that the paper is very, very pure.
Super, maximum purity and also ash-free paper, I read.
Yeah, yeah.
Ash-free, is
But
it?
just a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Because
Go ahead.
when we talk about these people in the industry
Yes.
developing new things and ideas, I just want to give you two examples.
Right.
And this is one. This is a special paper we developed.
That is a paper. Okay, yeah. Just hold it right there.
Can you see that?
Hang on, just stay right there. Stay.
Okay.
Move, right there.
That
So
way?
yeah, just hang on.
So
Stay there.
If customers have any idea, it can end up in a thing like that. It's an absorptive paper,
Okay.
and it has a special shape to to show the optimum of performance in the special application of the
Right.
customer.
And that would be for filtration in beverages, you say?
No,
that
this
is for what?
this is more for clinical diagnostics. So absorption, not filtration, it's absorption.
Analytics.
Yeah,
Analytics,
yeah,
okay.
an example. And when we talk about the filtration of large volumes, there's a slide with a filter press. A filter press is a big filter element. It's as tall as I am, and it's 3 or 4 meters in length. And in that, I prepared another piece of paper.
Okay, great.
It's a bit different.
Yeah.
This is an example for a paper which is used in a filter press. So all the liquids are pressed through the paper. There's a certain sandwich system, and these sandwich elements are staggered each behind the other one, and they work in parallel. And in these large filter press with 3 or 4 meters,
So you might have
thousands of liters can be
several
filtered.
of these sheets on
Yeah.
top of each other to filter again, yet again, and again, and again.
Exactly, yeah.
And you have the machine right here in Dussel, or is that somewhere else?
No, we don't have a
that's-
filter
that's
machine, we
different
have a
production.
converting machine.
Right.
So we take a big sheet, a raw material, and punch out the certain holes that it fits into the filter press.
Okay.
So filter presses have certain geometries, and it has to fit into the machine. So from that to that.
That's quite a different sense of usage and also a different size, we would say. So filtration is a big, big part. Analytics is a big part. I've been kind of glancing at this, and I just say sleeve. I know it's not a sleeve, but you have something special to show us. Can you tell me what this is?
Yes.
Because it's not called a sleeve, so you please correct me.
we call it a thimble. So
Thimble.
a thimble,
Okay.
yes. So, and I'm sure that everybody has cooked a coffee, and coffee cooking
Can I have
is
Look at it.
Please take it.
Yeah. Oh,
Oops.
don't worry. What a gentleman. Thank you.
Don't fall down. So when you cook a coffee, you take the coffee powder and put in a lot of hot water, and then you had the extracted caffeine. Yeah. Our customers are using nearly the same thing. They take a sample, put it in, and that may be a piece of food. It can be some plastic toy where you want to analyze the plasticizer, so the things which make it soften.
okay.
Yeah. And then they apply a hot organic solvent,
liquid.
and the extracted components can be collected in a vessel and analyzed. Yeah.
So to see how much like poisonous or good stuff, or how much comes out once it's been filtered, how pure,
toxic substances,
how many toxins you can get rid of by filtering it, so to say, or even
to analyze
how
the
much
goods.
there's in there.
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
analytic purpose.
And
And you have different sizes.
Yes, and as the samples can be different in size, we have even that size and even go down to that.
Oh, okay. I'm going to hold all 3 sizes. Now you get a good idea. From very big to the medium size and a tiny one as well.
Yeah.
So what goes in the tiny one?
So there are certain systems, so extractors like Decatur or Soxhlet extractors, they are very well known on the market. And depending on the volume, you have a large extractor where you put in this thimble or even a smaller one.
Okay.
And it's very important that it fits exactly into the extraction system.
I see. So that was filtration, analytics. This can be life-saving, really, because you can basically find out how toxic or how good or
Exactly.
bad
Yeah.
something is,
Yeah.
and therefore you can actually save lives long-term, because yeah, health is very important, and if we keep consuming something that's not good,
Yes, and it's getting more important day by day,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why we have increasing demand on that thimbles, and that's the reason for extending our production line in this matter. So it's really
very
amazing.
important
yeah.
and very important as well. So not just the artists get to benefit, also us as humans in everyday life. Fantastic. Now I get a glance at different things as well. Next theme is absorption, and you also have some products here to show us how they're used in absorption, for example.
Yes, so as I said, filter paper can be used for filtration, so liquids can pass through, or even air, but you can use also a filter paper for absorption of liquids. And this can be done for example, the seed testing. And there the paper works as a kind of water reservoir. So you apply some water, and the water can be given to seeds, in example. Yeah. And this is a seed testing paper, how it looks like, sometimes at customer side.
I'm going to hold that as well.
Yeah, so it's a pleated paper, a very specific paper. It can absorb very quickly. And what the customers do, the customers are seed testing manufacturers. So they produce seeds and have to check the quality, of course. And then they place seeds in between the folds,
Yeah.
apply some water, close the box and incubate it for several days at a
Just how
higher
we can see on
temperature.
the screen.
And that can be the result, as you can see on the slide, that the little plants are growing up. And for that, it's very important that the paper is a very pure one. It should have a certain pH. It should not have any fungal spores. They will grow up, not only the seeds or the plants, even the fungal spores will start growing.
Mildew and everything else, if it were so.
It has to be very, very pure. And
yeah,
I checked it at home, yes.
Oh, wow. So this is your own
So, yes.
self-experiment, so to say. These are your
Five
own
days before,
plants.
I took some seeds for wheat.
Yeah.
And I put 2 seeds per fold in, applied some water, and put it into the heating room.
Look at that.
Very non-professional, but nevertheless, the wheat is growing and it looks very healthy.
Yeah,
And
it looks so perfect that when I first saw it, I thought, is that a fake? Is that plastic? No, it's real.
No, it's
Dear
real.
ladies and
You
gentlemen.
could eat it. No, it's
Yeah,
real.
I could eat it, exactly. It's real, it's not plastic, because it looks so perfect. I was like, wow, it can't be. But you made it grow within 5 days on your own product here.
I must say, it's not my love I put into the seeds. I guess it's just the Hahnemühle paper that is so successful.
It's the Hahnemühle paper that makes it happen.
Yeah.
Wow, great experiment. 5 days, and you have these seeds grow into like, how tall are they? 5 centimeters? 5 days? 5 centimeters? I think that's pretty
And the
good.
idea behind that is that these seed manufacturers, they could do that even with soil, but a paper is more can be more standardized. So soil is a dirty job and,
and irregular.
Yeah, exactly, and that's easy to. And what is also important is that you can even check the roots. Yeah.
Oh wow, you can pull it out.
Yes.
Oh, do you need another hand?
Yes. If you hold the glass, I take out just one, and that's the reason why the paper is dark. That you can see how the roots are growing, yes, and that's perfect for the researching the growth and yes, they want to analyze that. When you take a white paper, you will not see that.
Yeah, and also how long, how strong the root is. Yeah, that's amazing. So it all makes sense to me now, to be honest. And thank you for this demonstration. That's really being a scientist at heart and giving it all for Hahnemühle. That's fantastic. So that was another point, is growth also for little seeds. Wow, okay. I mean, most of us think of like paper for art, of course. We talked about analytics, we talked about filtration, we've talked about absorption. It's such a wide range life science is all about. It's incredibly diverse, really, in usage. And most impressive right now at the moment, also in a medical sense, we use it in so many different applications, which are you just showing us. Which one would you like to show us today? For which product do you use for which medical?
We have, for medical use, it's an example is this one. It's also a little tiny thing, a piece of paper.
Okay, let me show you that.
It's also used for absorption, absorption of some allergens or other chemicals. And as you can see on the slide, it's impregnated with a certain solution, and then it's put on the skin of a patient, and then you can see whether whether can see an allergic reaction or not. And for that, it's very important that the thickness of each of the individual pieces is constantly the same. Because if it would be thicker, it would absorb more liquid. But you have to check for all the pieces the same volume. When you want to compare some allergens, you have to apply the same volume, the same concentration, and therefore the thickness is very important.
Just an interesting question I have in my head. Do you still have to be scratched with that particular? No, right? No more scratching then?
No.
Oh, great. I love it. Because I remember being a child and having to be scratched when, you know, so all these allergens could go into my body. This is like the way we do it today. So, wow, very good. Is there any other medical usage that you want to show us?
For example, that here, and I'm sure maybe you can hold it.
Oh, yeah. I know. I have. I have these at home because I'm a human. And sometimes humans don't function perfectly, and this way you can figure out what it is that doesn't work.
You should know about your body, and and this is, I guess everybody will know that this is a dipstick for a urine test, and this can be done with our papers too. So our absorptive papers can be impregnated with certain solutions, including an indicator substance, and then you put it into the urine and you get a color change, and this indicates whether you have some glucose or proteins in your urine. But even other, for example, saliva or blood can be analyzed with that paper.
So that is is that already part of the self-testing in a medical sense for patients? That's already part of self-testing, right?
And our customers buy a certain kind of paper, and they test it, whether it's the right one for their application, for their test, and then they start creating a dipstick like that.
Okay.
And another thing is something like that here. Let's open it.
Yes. I can imagine what that is.
This is also a point of care test, so like the other one. And point of care means it's a self-test, and point of care means you could do it right now, or even when you stumble through the desert, you can take some saliva or urine, if you still have that, after several days.
After being dehydrated.
You can analyze that, and this is a lateral flow assay. Lateral flow means we don't have these individual pieces of paper, but we have different papers, and they are impregnated with different solutions and indicators. And the pieces of paper are set in a row, and they overlap. And when you apply the liquid, then the flow goes through all the papers, the individual ones, and one reagent is added to the next one. And in the end, you will get a detection line in the detection zone, whether it's positive or negative. So it's very, very complicated, and it's and therefore the paper has to have in the same sense the right thickness, a constant thickness, that every dipstick will be the same now and even in 10 years.
Okay, so we've had the rapid urine test, the dipstick, and that was the pregnancy test right here, right there. Some of you might have recognized this. Also in terms of heart attacks and infections. Infections was this as well, right? So we can see what's wrong.
This is it's not only a pregnancy. This market is very strongly growing. So when you think about the emergency doctor, when someone comes to help you, they sometimes check for a certain infectious disease, for cardiac markers. that when they transport the patient to the hospital, things can be prepared very well, that they save time. So very often this point-of-care test is done in emergency cases too. But even policemen, when they check suspect people, they do a drug test. It's also a point-of-care test. So this market is really strongly increasing nowadays. And because of the pandemic, nearly everybody knows that quick test, when they want to go to a theater or restaurant, you have to check your saliva sample with such a quick test.
Yeah, definitely. We all know it by now very well, I'm afraid. So what's most important for the production in such delicate usage? I mean, the source, the water is obviously very clean. The purity is a big factor, right?
Yes, yes. And as I said, the homogeneity of there's a constant thickness of the paper, because the paper here functions as a reservoir where a reaction takes place. And it's the same when you bake a cake. You have several components in a certain row, and you have exact timing to keep.
I know.
And only if all the things and the relations of all the ingredients are the right ones, the cake will taste good. And it's the same here. So the density of the paper is very important, the thickness. And when you look at a paper, when you hold a piece of paper against the light, you can see that it's a bit cloudy. So you can see darker areas, you can see lighter areas. And that should be not too strong. So you should more have not a cloudy, but more a foggy piece of paper where the fibers are more homogeneously dispersed. That's very important.
So for the medical alignment, obviously it has to be pure, it has to be solid, it has to always be the same result. And you've already mentioned the pandemic. You also have an act in the pandemic. In which way?
Yes, in several ways. So about 2 years ago, we had a visit of the Prime Minister, Mr. Weil, from Lower Saxony, and he visited us because we became a systemically important supplier. And the reason is that we offer a special glass fiber filter paper. And you should know that glass fiber can bind DNA and RNA under certain circumstance, and this is the background. Some customers buy this glass fiber to bind DNA, and 2 years ago you could see it in all the media that some companies are creating an automatic test system. It consists of a small cartridge which is similar to a printing cartridge for inkjet printer, and a big system as big as a laser printer. And you have seen that maybe in some reports on TV. They take the saliva sample, put it into the cartridge, and then they put this black box, because there's nothing really to see, into the apparatus and get the analysis some minutes later. And what's happening in this black box is that the virus is cracked and the DNA is released, and the DNA can then bind to the glass fiber. And then the name PCR, everybody have heard about that, the polynucleotide change reaction. When you have isolated the DNA, you cannot detect it because it's the amount is too small. So you have to use the PCR to multiply the DNA by millions, and then you can detect it. And this is done then in the apparatus, and then you get a result. And this is a very interesting application for a glass fiber material, which is used as a filter also.
Wow, so you're even involved in the PCR tests, in COVID-19 tests, filtration, and also analysis of air. Wow, I'm impressed, I have to say. I didn't expect that part. So now I've already seen these guys.
Yes,
we all know these very well. They've been part of our life now since 2 years now. FFP2?
Exactly.
And the medical
The
mask.
medical mask, yes. So very early in the beginning of the pandemic, we started creating, as a first, we had created the Hahnemühle Care family.
I remember that.
Yeah, and the first member in this family was a filter paper which protected mouth and nose, and it should absorb the droplets when you speak. And
yeah, there it is.
That
Look,
was the first step.
Right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly, perfect. And the next step was a bit more sophisticated. We launched these two products last year, these medical masks and the FFP2, and they have a high absorbency, so more than 98% of the particle are filtered. So this is a very good performance. And in addition, this FFP2 mask is checked for absorption of COVID virus. So there's a certain test done with these masks, and even the COVID virus particles are filtered with more than 98%. And it fits perfect, yes, especially when you wear glasses. It closes up very good at the nose, so your glasses will not get cloudy.
Yeah, and also, you know what? Sometimes when there's so many companies producing FFP2 masks, maybe, I don't know, if they're always as pure and good as these are, because these don't have any, they don't smell. Like sometimes when you put an FFP mask on, you're like, why does it smell?
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
the plastics, the synthetic
like
fibers.
Yeah. Absolutely clean, pure, no smell at all.
Yeah. And it's completely made in Germany. The raw material, the fibers, in Germany, and the whole mask is also a German product. And it contains just 3 layers, because usually these masks have 5 layers, but this has only 3 layers, so the breathing is easier, because the material, the raw material, is an improved one with a higher binding capacity.
So, wow, that is my favorite FFP2 mask. I would have never thought that a while back that I would say my favorite FFP mask. I didn't know I could have a favorite. This is definitely the best FFP mask I've ever had in my hand.
Thank you.
And put my nose under it, because it smells of nothing. You know, we all know FFP masks. You should try and get a hand on this FFP2 mask by Hahnemühle. So what's up next? Do you have any more news? Yet again, more news. Is there more coming?
Of course, we think about tomorrow, not yesterday. So as we discussed these special point-of-care tests with a lot of plastic inside. Yes, the paper is not the problem, but the housing and all other things. So when you unpack such a thing, you have these small drying bag, and you throw away nearly everything. And these are millions of tons per year of waste. And that's something we would like to look at, to reduce the waste volume by using a bit more sustainable material, hopefully paper. And this is what we are thinking about right now.
So it's quite impressive to me what all Hahnemühle does. I mean, not just, you know, satisfying artists around the world with all their many varieties of art and paper and canvases and digital art papers. Now we've had a little look into life science and how important it is in our daily lives as humans, especially in this day and age. And my thoughts are just like, wow, it must be a huge expense for Hahnemühle. And this part, the branch of the life science part, is very significant part in this paper production. And I have to say, I'm impressed. I don't know how you do it. You're only 200 people in Hahnemühle in Dassel, but it looks like you're 2,000 maybe. It looks like you're a lot more people than actually you are, because all of this has to be produced. It's amazing. I've learned so much today. Thank you so much for coming on live here into the Install studio and explaining life science a little more. Do you want to have any last words? Would you like to finish off with anything?
Yes, what I said in the beginning is that we support people to live in a healthy environment and to control their own health. I hope after seeing these products and all the applications we supply, maybe now someone understand a bit more what I meant with these words, and we do that with just a piece of paper, let's say it that way.
Wow, the variety and the possibilities of paper. Thank you so much for coming on to the studio, into the sessions into the virtual open house. Not just the creative part, also life science is very important to us as humans in everyday life. This was the virtual open house for you. Instead of the creative days, we thought, hey, Hahnemühle just took it, in their own hands and made this happen to inform the paper lovers, paper industry, the artists, the shops, and everybody to keep them up to date. We've launched products today. You've given us an insight about life science, about filtration, analytics, about the great variety in the medical sense as well. Also, this FFP mask is mine now. It's the best
great.
one that I've ever had and tried because it doesn't smell of anything. So, thank you for also bringing these guys. That was great to find out, and it's been great hosting this virtual show for you here today. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Dany.